Hey everyone, I'm Gary Pope from Late to the Table. Now we're down to the big dogs, number 20 through 11. And let's go ahead and start this right off. Number 20 is going to be Food Chain Magnate, made by Jeroen, Doumen, and Joris, Wiersinga, and it's published by Splotter Games. It was made back in 2015. Now, Food Chain Magnate, the best way to describe how to play the game is that it's a Euro game in which you're just trying to basically empty out the bank, and whoever has the most money at the end of the game wins. But what makes Food Chain Magnate so great is that it's hard to describe it. I call it a sandbox Euro because you can kind of almost do whatever you want in terms of how you want to go about getting a lot of money. You can either try being just drink dispenser kind of place where you're just selling nothing but lemonade, or you could be like the biggest hamburger joint in the area, and it's such an open-ended game in terms of all things you could do. I mean, everything boils down to like what you're making, what items you're making, how you advertise it to people to get people to actually want particular kind of food, and then also how to get the food to the person, and also the pricing and everything. It is such a well thought of game. And what's crazy about the game is that with all of these different things you could do, you'd think you'd be bogged down with a ton of rules, and you're not really at all. The game's pretty straightforward and straight to the point. The only thing really confusing about the game is just is who gets what, depending on like the pricing and the distance and stuff like that. That's the only time things really get really confusing or fidgety with the rules or anything. Besides that, the game is just so simple and so straight to the point. I taught two non-gamer families this game by accident. It was completely by accident. We're at a con, and I had the game up and I was teaching the game at a con, and these families sat down, and I always give people the option to walk away if they don't feel if they don't like the game, or if it's too big or it's too complicated, whatever. And these two families sat down and actually enjoyed the game. Only maybe one kid didn't seem to be enjoying it. They thought it was a little bit too confusing, which I don't blame them. But besides that, everyone seemed to very much enjoy the game. But yeah, Food Chain Magnate, it's just a game that I'm going to be loving forever. I play this game every year at least once since I've had it with one of my friends, Harrison. We always do a one-on-one game, and I always beat him in the dumbest way. This year, I think I beat him selling nothing but lemonade. Yeah, I beat him I'm pretty sure that's how I beat him this year. I just beat him by selling but nothing but lemonade. But Food Chain Magnate, I love the game. And also, another interesting one, this is one I personally think ranks a little bit higher because there's an online app for it. But I own the physical version. I played a lot the physical version as well. But the online app does add a little bit to it because it allows me to play it more often than normal. But this one isn't one of those ones where it wouldn't be on this list without there's no app created. The app just helps a little bit. But that's number 20, Food Chain Magnate. And number 19 is going to be Root, made by Cole Wehrle, and it's published by Ledger Games, and it's made in 2018. Now, Root, what I love about Root is that Root is vast done right, in my opinion. Now, I was one of those people where actually, the funny thing is that Vast was the very first game, Kickstarter game I ever backed, actually. And I got very lucky because it was actually going to be becoming a very good, very well-known game. But the problem with Vast was that it was just a hard game to get to the table because you always had to teach the game every single time. And that game is not easy to teach because you had to teach all these different roles to a whole bunch of different people every single time, and they were completely different from each other. Root does a very similar thing where there's 4 different factions, or however many people are in the game, and everyone plays the game a little bit differently, but everyone doesn't play the game so differently that you have to explain everything individually to everyone. There's some things that are the same, like whoever gets the most points on this the VP chart wins the game, or if you switch your objective to one of the domination things, then that's how you win the game. So the objective of how to win was the same across the board for all characters, but just how each of them got there is different. So I think that helped a lot in terms of making Root a way more easier game to teach. But basically what Root is a area control game, is the best way to put it. It's like a war game kind of, but kind of not at the same time. But it's such a well done game. The art is fantastic in it. The characters are fantastic in it. Each different faction feels definitely very different from each other, but they also feel competitive, like they all can compete, they all can do their own thing. Every single time I play the game and I sit down and I play with people, everyone has different opinions of who they think is the most broken team, which I guess is a good thing, because then it's that means that none of them are actually right then. But Root really surprised me. The funny thing about Root also is that I actually didn't originally back the game or anything. They made a funny commercial spoofing Hate, and I saw it, and from then I backed the game later on. It was like a pre-order system or something like that, just because of that commercial, and now I end up loving the game. So I definitely am so glad of that.
Everything's gone to the pooper. We ruined the forest, and only the fluffiest can survive. This isn't a world for the weak. If you want to rule, you have to be the gosh darndest, cutest, and deadliest. That's all we know. That's all we have. Only taking root.
But Root number 19. Okay, so I'm going to get a lot of hate for this one, but number 18 is going to be Poker. And this was, I don't even know who made this game, but this game came out in sometime in the 1800s. But Poker, it's what it is essentially is a card game in which usually people gamble money with in order to, it's like a trick-taking game, which people are playing cards, and whoever has the better hand at the end of the game usually wins the money or whatever you have on the line for the game. But I love Poker. Poker is one of those games in which it's not the gambling aspect I like about the game. Actually, because of Poker, that's when I started realizing that I actually really like board games, surprisingly. But Poker, I love the game itself. I usually play Texas Hold'em, and I would play Poker without any money or anything like that. Actually, the funny thing is that back when I used to play Poker a ton, I used to actually mostly play free to play tournaments and stuff like that, where you don't win anything, you don't put any money up, and I just loved it. It's just, I love the game, I love the strategy, I love the, and people that don't play a lot of poker don't realize that how much strategy is in the game, because there's a lot of numbers you got to know. There's a lot of the way that people bet and the way that people push things in certain situations and not in other ways. It's okay. And that also then brings it to the next thing. The whole bluffing mechanic in poker is one of the main reasons why social deduction games in general is probably my favorite mechanic in a game by far. And poker is a very, very big reason as to why I love it so much, because there's just so much more, it's just way more stimulating to me to talk to people, engage with people in a bluffing, lying back and forth, trying to figure out who's telling the truth situation, rather than just a straight mechanics or straight like just doing math and numbers and playing a game or doing euros and stuff like that. So poker is a big reason in terms of why I like social deduction games, because of the whole bluffing mechanic in it. So it's definitely obviously gonna be high up on my list, because that's a game which I've loved for a long time. But that's number 18, poker. Number 17 is going to be Spirit Island, made by R. Eric Roos, and it's published by Greater Than Games. It's made in 2017. Now, I was surprised, honestly, how high Spirit Island was up for me as well. But I'm not really that surprised as well at the same time, because I just love it. What Spirit Island is a cooperative game. The best way to kind of describe it is it's almost like a Pandemic with a lot more mechanics in it, because essentially what you're trying to do is you're just trying to thwart off invaders, because you're these spirits and you have these different abilities, and what you're doing is you're building a deck with more and more abilities, and they get stronger as you go throughout the game, and you're just trying to basically destroy them and get them off your land. And with other players, you have more space, you gotta do this over and destroy more things. It's such a fun game. The only fault that Spirit Island had, there's two faults actually in Spirit Island, is that it's a bit of a clunky game, and it's actually, once you get everything down and understand how the game works, it's actually a very easy game to beat. I've honestly never come close to even losing in the game, but I also haven't played on the harder difficulties, or I haven't, and this is the other problem with the game, is that if you want the game to be harder, you have to then make the game more clunky. So it's a little bit of an annoying thing, but besides that though, Spirit Island's a great, fantastic game. I love how it works, and it's one of those games in which I'll always sit down and play the game, because it's just so fun controlling your spirit, and the spirits are so cool. That's the other thing. The spirits, if you are like a golem, a huge rock golem, you feel completely different than like the nightmare thing that's like crawls at night or something like that. You feel completely different, and they all feel like how they're supposed to feel, and they all do exactly what they're supposed to do, and it's just so well done. And there's so many spirits in the game they could play as, and they're all fantastically well done. So that's number 17, Spirit Island. Love that game. Number 16 is Chaos in the Old World, made by Eric M. Lang, and it's published by Fantasy Flight Games. It was made in 2019. Now, I'm going to say this right off the bat. Chaos in the Old World has been Eric Lang's best designed game ever. Nothing has topped it. And there's other games that he's made that have been a little bit similar to it, like Blood Rage, for example. Doesn't even come close. He perfected Chaos in the Old World. It doesn't get better than Chaos in the Old World. It's not even close. It's not even close. And the reason behind is I could compare it to all of his other games. Rising Sun. Rising Sun's a really cool game, and I like it. But Chaos in the Old World, they have its 4 factions in the game, and they have the 5th rat faction in the game, and they all work seamlessly together way more than the characters in the Rising Sun. So that beats that for that reason. Blood Rage gets way too repetitive after a few plays, while in Chaos in the Old World, if you don't like how one character plays, you just play a different character and it plays completely differently. There's way more replay value in Chaos in the Old World, and how all the characters develop and grow in the game is way better. It's way more straight to the point. And it's just his best design without even getting close to it, in my opinion. And that's why it's so high up there. And I can also imagine why it's, well, not only because they don't make the game anymore, but why it's such a highly sought out game as well. But Chaos in the Old World, it's a classic. It's one of my favorite area control games of all time. It's up there, and I can see why people love this game so much. At first, I was really hoping Blood Rage would be better than this game, and I wouldn't have to own Chaos in the Old World. But Blood Rage didn't even come close when I played it after a bunch of times. I just always liked playing Chaos in the Old World more. Every single time I was sitting down playing Blood Rage, I'd always be hoping I was playing Chaos in the Old World instead. But it's such a good game. It's if you could get over the graphics and all the other stuff, I don't see how people can like Blood Rage over Chaos, in my opinion. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me personally. But that's number 16, Chaos in the Old World. Now number 15 is going to probably be another game I get a lot of hate for, and that's going to be Spades, made in sometime in 1930s. Now Spades is probably the game in which I played easily the most on this list. Virtually, in person, doesn't matter. I don't think I played any game more than I played Spades. And it's just my favorite trick-taking game of all time, easily. I don't even want to know how much I played Spades. There was at least 3 to 4 years in which I was playing Spades, roughly minimum 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. So that's 15 hours. I did that 4 days a week, 4 weeks out of the year. I have 4 weeks in a month, so that's about, 60 hours in a month. I did that for about 3 or 4 months out of the year. So that's about 120, 240 hours-ish a year, and I did that for like 3-4 years. So it's like, I played hundreds and hundreds of hours of Spades. And that was just only for a few years. That's not my entire life. That was just during a few years. And I don't know, I just love Spades. It's one of those games that is just still not old to me to this day. And I just played it so much. I'd play it anytime. If you see me at a convention and you're like, hey Gary, want to play a game of Spades? I'm a little bit rusty now, but I would still even play it at a gaming convention where there's other modern games. I'll sit down and play a game of Spades with people. I'm not even joking. Just be good yourself. I'm rusty, but give me like a game and then I'll be back. And then it's just like, okay, everyone better know what they're doing at this table or I'm gonna be pissed. But Spades, I love Spades. It's a game which I know I'm never gonna get bored of and get tired of. It's a game in which whenever I play other modern trick-taking games, I'm comparing it to Spades every single time. I'm like, is this game better than Spades? Does this game offer the same kind of depth, the same kind of gameplay that I could get from Spades? If it's not better or even close, it's not a good game. There's only been a few games recently that have done that, and they were on this list earlier. But yeah, anyways, that's number 15, Spades. All right, number 14 is going to be Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, made by Scott Almes, and it's made by Gamelyn Games. It's published in 2018. Now, this came to be listed at number 14 is actually a little bit ridiculous considering I've only played the game once. I don't even own the game, and I don't even think I'm getting the game in my hand until sometime Q1, Q2 of next year or something like that. But I played this game once at a convention with Roy Canada and Crystal Pisano, and I love this game. Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea. I think, I'm gonna be honest, I think this can potentially be my favorite dudes on a map, area control game, whatever game of all time, eventually, someday. I think it has the potential to do that, because from playing it one time, I wasn't even close to winning or anything like that, but I noticed the depth in the game, how ridiculous all the different things you could do in the game, all of the different options that there were, all of the different heroes and extra things, the replay value in the game, all the different factions that there were in the game. This is just one of those games in which I could honestly imagine seeing myself playing 50 plus times and still finding new things about the game and still learning new things and loving the game still more and more and more. But no, here's Land, Air, Sea. Trust me on this. It's going to be a great game when it comes out. I really regret not backing it the first time around. I'm an idiot for that. And I'm just going to have to wait until the second print run comes out next year. But here's Land, Air, and Sea. It's a fantastic game. Definitely make sure you get this one, because this one has potential to be probably my favorite area control dudes on the map game of all time. But that's number 14, Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea. All right, number 13 is going to be Pandemic Legacy, Season 1 made by Rob Daviau and Matt Leacock, published by Z-Man Games in 2015. Now, I haven't played Season 2 yet. I'm way behind the curve on that. So this is all based off of just Season 1, and Pandemic Legacy was the first Legacy game I completed from beginning to end in a reasonable amount of time, and I loved the entire experience of it. It was just so much fun, the engagement, the little things you had to do, all the different story arcs and all the changes that happened throughout the game based on your decisions. It was a fantastic experience that other Legacy games, they've come close, but they haven't had the same effect as what Pandemic Legacy had in Season 1. I played Risk Legacy, and I'm like halfway through a campaign on that, and I'm obviously seeing where Rob Daviau has come from, and it's really interesting to see where he went to in Pandemic Legacy. It's really funny that I've seen that, but Pandemic Legacy Season 1 is just so good. I highly recommend that to anyone. I mean, the catch is that, yeah, you gotta play the game a bunch, but in my opinion, I think the best way, at least for me, is you gotta just bulldoze through the game. You gotta tell people, hey, I want you to come over my house for the next 2-3 days, and all we're gonna be doing is playing Pandemic Legacy, and just bulldoze through it. When I played Pandemic Legacy Season 1, I did it the slow approach, where we played one mission every once a week on the same day, and we did that over a course of like 4 months or something like that. It took forever. By the end of it, we were actually kind of getting annoyed by it, and it was almost like a chore rather than actually having fun playing game. It was like, oh yeah, we have game night. Oh, we gotta play Pandemic rather than playing all these new games that came out and stuff like that. So I highly recommend people doing it in short spurts if possible. But Pandemic Legacy Season 1, fantastic game. That's number 13. Number 12 is going to be just mega games in general. Apparently, a historian named Patty Griffith created it, and I'm not even exactly sure what year. But mega games, what they are is that they are like 50 plus player games in which they are a fusion of board games, LARPing, and RPGs. And the thing is that if you hate LARPing, if you hate RPGs, I think you'd still like them anyways, and I still would highly recommend everyone to go check them out if you ever go to conventions, because they are a ton of fun. At this point, I think I played about 6 or so, maybe, mega games, and there have been a bunch of different ones. There were, I played Watch the Skies a few times. I played this one where you handle like liquor or something like that back in the 20s or whatever, when it was illegal. And I played a bunch of other ones, and there was a couple futuristic ones as well, where you're in like space or whatever. And they've all been a ton of fun, and I highly recommend it to everyone. They're different. The way that the games work, they're just different because you're playing a bunch of different games under one big main game. For example, in one of them, the big main game was essentially Game of Thrones, the board game mixed with Comet battle system a little bit, but all the mini games that led up to that big overall game, they did things to get you resources for the big game. And they were games like Battlestar Galactica's, like when you're trying to pick missions or whatever, that was like a little mini game. They had little card games like what is it called? I think it's like Indian poker, where you have it on your head or whatever, and whoever plays the best in that gets the most resources. They had like other games where you play like Escape from the Curse of the Temple, whatever. They have a whole bunch of different mini games that fill in. They try to go towards the main overall game, and that's kind of how a lot of them work for the most part. And they're just so much fun because of, not only because of how those little games work with a big game, but because they also then introduce the RPG and LARPing elements as well, such as, for example, in one game, I asked a mod, hey, is there any possible way that which we can like teleport from this area to another area? And they're like, oh yeah, all you have to do is just generate us like this sort of amount of resources, and then you have to do this little thing, and then you can go ahead and have that ability. And that was just because I asked. And that's where the RPG fun comes in, because not everything is written in stone of what you can and can't do. So there are different things that can happen randomly because of things you might ask and interact with. So it's such a fun and interesting time, because the whole point of the game is that it's supposed to be just fun. It doesn't have to be a huge balanced game. So if you're looking to go play a mega game for a balanced game, trust me, don't do it for that. Don't do it for that at all. They do it purely for fun. They try to make the game as fun and interesting for everyone as possible. So having weird things like that happen all the time are just makes the game way more engaging and way more fun and way more random for everyone. It's such a fun time, but I highly recommend it. Definitely do them if you go to a convention, if you see them, but try them out. It's Mega Games, number 12. Okay, and last one for today is going to be number 11, and it's The Mind by Wolfgang Warsch. And this was published by Nürnberger-Spielkarten-Verlag, whatever, and it's made in 2018. Now, The Mind is easily my favorite game by Wolfgang Warsch. And the funny thing about Wolfgang Warsch is my friend described him perfectly the other day, and he described him as the designer who makes games that should have already been made. And it makes perfect sense, because The Mind, what was the other one? The Mind, Illusion, that game should have already been made a long time ago. And then Ganschmanch Clever, they're games in which they felt like they should have been made back in the 80s or 70s or whatever. But they were just being made in the past 8 years or so. And The Mind, though, what The Mind is just a clever little stupid game in which everyone receives a card, or depending on what round it is, they might receive more cards. And they're just trying to figure out who's playing what card first. And the numbers are numbered 1 through 100, and they're just trying to play the lowest card going up. And there's no talking, and that's the entire game. And it sounds like such a dumb game, but it's so much fun. I don't care if people say that it's not a game. The Mind's 100% a game, and it's such a well done one. I'm just mad. I feel like everyone's just mad that they didn't come up with it. And they weren't the ones to be like, oh, maybe we should try publishing this game and seeing if people will like it. Because they would, and they'll freaking love it. People love The Mind. But The Mind, I love the game. It's a game that's going to stick around my library forever. It's a game in which it's a game in which I've been showing my family and a whole bunch of other non-gamer friends, stuff like that, for a little while now. And it's the one that is working such as well as one of my other favorite games of all time. And because of that, I love it so much, because it's just an easy way to get people into the hobby, or even to at least start liking some of the games. They ain't gotta like all the games. They ain't gotta like Heroes of the Land, Air, and Sea. They don't have to sit there and try playing Spirit Island. But even just some of these games like The Mind and stuff like that, or Insider, or Fake Artist Goes to New York, these simpler games, like these games are so great because they can get people of anyone to like them and enjoy them. So that's why I think The Mind is such a great one. And that's why it's my number 11, The Mind. And that was my 20 through 11. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I know I'd made a couple little controversial ones like Spades and Poker, which people were like, oh, those are not even modern board games. Why do you even add that to that list? But I like those enough to add them up there. But and let me know what you think about some of your favorite dudes on a map style games. Those are a lot of ones we talked about in this segment, such as Heroes of Land, Air, Sea, which I think is going to be my favorite dudes on a map game in the future. And Chaos in the Old World, which I think is just Eric Lang's best design he's ever made. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. But until next time, I'll see you guys with the final video of 10 through 1 in the next video. See ya. Peace.